top class. It's the Quintessential Show.
It is the Quintessential Show. We are back indeed, and we are talking all things crypto, all things movers and shakers in South Africa, and showing you what you can get access to today. All about that democratizing process where there's a whole bunch of new digital platforms that you can gain access to, and so we invite the CEOs or the founders of those companies onto the show to chat to us about what's on, the plate of South Africans that they can access. So I've got the founder of Revix or Revix. It is Sean Sanders. Hello, Sean.
Hey, Quintus. How are you doing today?
Perfect, man. How are you doing?
I'm good. It's another crazy, busy, all-in-one week in world of Revix and the world of crypto, eh? So not complaining though.
Yes. Well, I mean, not just crypto. So when we're recording this, the JSE had some crazy news today that there was too much volume that was being traded at once. And so then the JSE had to pause for a couple hours. Now, I think, that's a great place to start our conversation because I want to talk about trading volumes. And I always ask this of, especially crypto guys that come onto the Quintessential Show. Tell me about trading volumes. Do you have the number of what Revix does per month?
Yeah, so Revix does well over $15 million on a monthly basis. It does vary depending on the volatility in the market, but it must be noted that we actually aren't a trading platform. So it's kind of weird having crypto as our main product that we sort of offer, even though we offer them or cryptocurrencies in bundles, so sort of like prepackaged ETF-like products. So you get diversified exposure to the crypto space.
Sure.
We actually more of an investment platform. So if you're wanting to invest for the long term and just get exposure to this asset class in a low cost and secure and safe way, that's sort of where we come in.
Yeah.
We don't really want to compete with the big trading houses. The exchanges exist for traders, right?
Sure.
You've got all the kind of bells and whistles when it comes to stop losses, limit orders, market orders, you name it. With us, we don't really offer that. We focus on the security and a great customer experience.
Well, yeah. Well, somebody who does sell equities, right? So, I mean, like Easy Equities, for example, in South Africa, today, they also would have had to pause what they were doing because, no sales of equities could go forward. In the crypto world, though, have you ever seen or do you foresee in the future that there will ever be a trading volume issue, or is crypto immune from those kind of problems?
Well, I think you've got the world of decentralized exchanges, and I'm kind of holding myself back before going away on this, but like the world of DEXs and that's decentralized exchanges. I mean, crypto guys love jargon, right? So you're going to probably hear me correcting myself a few times, but decentralized exchanges, peer-to-peer transactions, OTC markets, so that's over-the-counter markets. I mean, all of these things make crypto just something that you don't turn off. You can't turn off. One venue goes down, a Coinbase or Binance goes down, you're still able to trade every single cryptocurrency that exists on those exchanges. Yeah. You can trade them peer-to-peer, and this is the beauty of crypto, right? Is that you don't have intermediaries that exist to sort of prevent a trade from occurring. If you think about today, unless you had some exotic product that was a derivative and somehow was traded between two major financial institutions, you own Woolly shares, you own ShopRite shares, you own Standard Bank shares, you ain't trading anything, right? You are stuck. And when the market starts up again, who knows actually what's caused this stop? I mean, I'm sure when you listen to this podcast, there'll be more information exactly as to why trading was halted. I mean, I find the idea of it being volume related kind of weird. I mean, Exchanges live to have more volume, right? Yeah. But anyway, we'll see sort of what happens on that front. And in the world of crypto, no, like it'll continue. It doesn't stop. It's 24/7, 365.
Well, crypto nerd stuff aside, I like to keep it quite basic on the Quintessential Show, but I really wanted to just hear what you thought about that. So when people see this, just go back and read about the JSE and the trading volumes, something that they had to apologize for in terms of inconvenience. And so I don't see that happening in the crypto world anytime soon. But anyways, listen, Sean, you're here to talk about Revix. Let's take it back to the beginning of founding this company. Take me back to where you heard about, well, actually, I want to go further back than that. Tell me about when you heard about crypto for the very first time.
Oh, this is a really interesting story. And I'm going to keep it short because this could take up the rest of the podcast. So I was in London and I was fortunate enough to be, at this point in time, I was 21 and I had started buying and selling stocks and really got into like the trading world. I was looking at sort of starting my first full-time job just after uni. And I landed up coming across this weird Bitcoin thing, and I didn't think anything of it, right? I just read about it in a newspaper. At that point in time, it wasn't even a newspaper. It was sort of like an online forum, actually.
Yeah.
And I just remember going like, that's interesting. Like weird digital internet money. It's like Monopoly money, but digital. Like, cool. I guess these guys have built something like that. Didn't really grasp what it was. Then I landed up managing quite a fair amount of money. And this is the rabbit hole story that I don't want to get into, but I was modeling while I was in the UK. Like while I was at university, I sort of had this opportunity to model and act while I was studying. And it was a sort of great side hustle, loads of fun, absolutely loved it and traveled all over the world. But what I found is that a lot of models weren't very good at managing their money. Surprise, surprise. And they were quite happy to give 21-year-old Sean some of this money to manage. Now, I don't understand why they would have done this, but they did it. So I managed to actually get just over $2 million, believe it or not, in capital to invest on their behalf. Now, this was unbeknown to my parents, who later found out and told me to shut that down really quick. But in this process, I actually had invested on the London Stock Exchange for one of the models. And then she wanted to buy an apartment in New York. Now, just to understand, I mean, the models that I was kind of investing for, they were making 2,000 to 4,000 euros a day. So they were making pretty good money. Yeah. And it was a pretty sizable amount of money that I needed to move from one country to another. And little South African over here, they needed to move money with exchange controls and all the rest. I mean, you're not exactly the best position to do that. And I thought back, well, hell, there's this weird Bitcoin thing I read about. Can I actually do this? And back then it was dodgy. It was, I mean, a lot of people will still say, arguably today, that it still feels kind of dodgy or not that easy to move cryptocurrency from one account to another. Sure. But back then, my gosh, it was way more difficult. And that was actually what got me into the weird world of crypto. I moved a ton of money. I mean, back then I couldn't even tell you how many Bitcoins, but I mean, well over 100 Bitcoin from one location to another. And that was sort of the intro. And I was like, wow, it worked. Like, fantastic. I'm glad that this happened. Yeah. And that was sort of my foray into crypto.
Yeah, and so the bug bit and ever since. But so wow, I mean that's quite a shrewd business you're at. I think there's still a gap in the market for somebody to I don't know, collect model money and make sure that it goes into the right accounts. I think you should maybe start that up again. But so now you were in London and then you moved back to South Africa and you start Revix up as a South African company, right? Is that so?
We actually started Revix as a UK business. Uh-huh. So while we are primarily focused on the South African market, the Revix HQ is actually based in the UK. And our goal is to expand across Europe now. So, I mean, we love South Africa. South Africa has been our test market. It has been a phenomenal market to test our product in, to grow in. But there is that natural ceiling in South Africa. And you kind of, I don't know, maybe as just a greedy founder, you want more. You want some Europe, you want some US. So our next step would be heading over to the German market, the German-speaking DACH region, and then heading over to the UK as well.
Yeah. So I mean, this starts with a vision and a dream, obviously. So what was that all about when you kind of said, okay, I want to put together a collective now, and what was it? Come up with a platform to trade cryptos on? Was that the initial vision?
So actually, taking a little step back out of Revix to another very interesting business that I had that failed. It was called Blocktree Capital. Blocktree Capital was a fund that I decided to try set up with two co-founders. It was back in the day when crypto wasn't really anything more than Bitcoin. Ethereum had just come onto the scene. We were looking at essentially setting up this fund and trying to get it regulated in some jurisdiction. So we were looking at the British Virgin Islands, we were looking at the Cayman Islands, all the kind of jurisdictions that, getting that name, so Cayman and crypto in the same sentence, of course, no one's going to trust you. So that became challenging. We were then looking at Switzerland, we were looking at Malta, and it just like no regulator was really at a position to enable us to have a fund that would allow even high net worth individuals to get exposure to alternative assets and especially cryptocurrencies like that. And the market really wasn't that sort of mature. I mean, even now, arguably, it's not that mature yet. But if you start looking at the likes of, the custodian partners, BitGo, some of the big players that look after the private keys of the different cryptocurrencies, I mean, they just weren't there, and they were incredibly expensive if you did find a partner at that point in time. So that business was sort of a good foray into the space because I realized, there's a lot of people that actually want to invest in this area and they've got no clue how to do it themselves. So light bulb number one. Number two is that I have worked in the investment world since I started working, right? So I did my CFA, I did a Bachelor of Business Science. I was fortunate enough to kind of get obsessed with active versus passive ETFs in my honors year. So I magna cum laude my degree, which was more just a function of me really loving what I was doing than me just being very smart. Then from there, I was also lucky just to kind of work with some really smart people in some remarkable companies, one of which was Knife Capital, which is a venture capital firm based in Cape Town. I worked with some absolutely phenomenal students from Harvard and Stanford. And I think just all of this kind of came together where it was like, oh, there's this weird mantra that exists in the market that you are too dumb to manage your money. Like as a ordinary person that doesn't have a financial degree or isn't in the financial circles, you just aren't smart enough to do it. And if you adopt that approach with other areas like healthcare, like looking after yourself, like I can't look after myself, I'm not smart enough to do that. Like that's silly. Of course not. You can do that. And that was sort of the frustration really that I had. And I said, well, why do people not invest themselves? Why don't they manage money themselves? And it came out to be pretty much that it's not engaging. I mean, managing money is pretty boring and it's filled with jargon. And if you can sort of remove those two barriers, then all of a sudden this becomes an area that's very accessible. And that's where we come in, because Revix stands for Revolutionary Investment Experience. And my sort of why behind this business, and even though crypto has been the first asset class that we've launched, I mean, there's a whole host of other asset classes that we're going to launch that you can invest in. The why behind the business is to revolutionize the investment experience, to make it more accessible, but also to make it enjoyable, because I don't think you can make a boring experience something that people want to choose to do. So that's really where we come in, to try just make that whole investing experience, a delight, really.
Yeah. And look, I've signed up for an account on Revix, and I can also attest to that. It looks like a gamified version of investing, which is really cool. It's like you're almost opening, I don't know, some sort of game armory of what you have, and then you can say, okay, cool, I can click on this, and I can click on this, and I can click on this, and then put money in. So I think you guys have a good look in terms of what you have launched already. But let's quickly step back before we talk about what actually goes into Revix. Now you guys are a platform where you can buy, like you say, bundles full of different cryptos, or you can buy maybe individual cryptos. But sincerely, there's a lot of platforms out there, and even Hong Kong-based exchanges are trying to get people's attention in Africa. I've been visited by one of them before. Now, tell me what makes Revix the place to be for South Africans specifically, because the Quintessential Show is all about finding, quintessentially South African things that have been democratized, that 9 out of 10 South Africans can gain access to. So kind of give me an answer to that. Should South Africans be coming through Revix, or are there, like alternatives out there that are becoming competitors for you locally? Give me your idea of the like the platform war that has basically started.
Yeah, so I think if you're wanting to be a trader, right, you're wanting to buy and sell like you're in a casino and just, having that adrenaline rush, we're not the platform for you, as I said earlier in the show. That's where you can go to the likes of, Binance, BitMEX, even local players. I mean, they are built so that you can trade. With Revix, you're going to get onto a longer term investment platform. Now, that's not really our USP. That's just sort of how we've positioned ourselves. What really makes us special, and anybody that's listening to this, go and try this out. Go and message whatever platform you currently use. Try access their customer support. Go ahead, do that in the next 10, 15 minutes, and then see how long they take to get back to you. And it's that frustration which has driven us again to sort of want to grow this business, and why we focus so much on customer support. If you have a problem, it's dealt with in 15 minutes. I know that seems absolutely absurd, but that's sort of the benchmark that the terrible banks and all the rest have set out there. As you can see, I'm not a big proponent of sort of incumbent financial institutions and all the rest. But this is sort of what we're looking to solve. Customer support is essential to a new and weird space. And that's essentially where we come in. So we make life just really easy. The other thing, we've got physical offices. This behind me, by the way, is not a Zoom background or anything. That's our fancy looking office here in Sea Point. I just try to look really fancy in Zoom calls. But you can come into the office. You can meet people. Crypto is a space that's kind of filled with all these charlatans and all the rest. And I think it's really important for certain brands to step up and to say, like, listen, we are here. We've got a JSE listed company that's invested in us. We've got some other big news with a new funding round on the way. I mean, we're here to stay. We're not going away. And building trust slowly but surely over time is our game.
Yeah, 100%. And I've seen that you've been, connected with a whole bunch of different incubators around the world, at least being the only South African company that are part of these incubators in some cases. So tell me, as a founder, how has that journey been, seeing it grow from essentially just a dream to something that is now physical?
I still pinch myself often. It's a bit crazy. I mean, rewind 3.5 years ago, and this was literally an idea, right? I was doing a bit of user testing. This wasn't yet something that was making any money. I had just given up this nice cushy job in the finance world to come and start this business. It was actually during the kind of crash that happened after that 2017 bull run. So a lot of people were telling me I'm absolutely crazy. And to think about where we've got to today, I mean, Revix is sitting with a staff count of just under 30 people. Before the end of the year, we'll be up to roughly around 37 people. We're expanding internationally. So it's crazy. It's weird. And it's a dream come true for me. I mean, this is, I would do this for free on a daily basis. And that, I think, is my competitive advantage as a founder as well. I really love what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I think everyone within the team absolutely loves what they're doing as well. So there isn't really a nice, clean answer really to the question. But yeah, I love this. This is my thing.
No, yeah, I mean, you can tell that there's some passion driving behind this brand. And look, I mean, I'm rooting for you guys, but let's get down to brass tacks, because, you know, when a South African thinks about money, they usually think, okay, I'm counting my rands and cents, and I want to make sure that if I save, I'm saving with something that I can access one day, and hopefully it has grown, and the eighth wonder of the world has taken place, and I've got some compound interest. So tell me more about what you have in terms of the platform, because you do go on and you see a whole bunch of different bundles. Just give us a world into the plethora of bundles, but what actually is behind those bundles? What am I buying when I buy a Revix bundle?
Sure. Okay, so let me start with the single cryptos that we have on the platform. So we've got Bitcoin, Ethereum, we're about to launch Uniswap, we're about to launch Cardano, and we're about to launch Polkadot. We've also got a gold-backed cryptocurrency. So this means that you can buy into this for as little as 500 Rand, and you can hold a fraction of a gold bar. So this is a physical gold bar that's held in London Brinks vaults, and you're essentially buying the legal right to a fraction of those gold bars. So very similar to you buying a stock. You have the legal entitlement to future cash flows of a business. And then we've got USDC, which is a dollar-backed stable coin. So you actually can get dollar exposure without remitting your funds out of South Africa. So those are the single standalone cryptocurrencies we have. Then if you look at our crypto bundles, and these are really our flagship products, the number one bundle we always talk about is our top 10 bundle. So this provides exposure to the top 10 cryptocurrencies, equally weighted by market cap. So what this is saying is that you will get 10% allocated to each of the top 10 cryptocurrencies, each of the top 10 largest cryptocurrencies in the market. Mm-hmm. And what we'll do on a monthly basis is we'll rebalance that bundle. So, you know, should, let's say, the 10th largest cryptocurrency on the 29th decline in value, and on the start of the month, there's another cryptocurrency that's increased in value and overtaken it, we would automatically remove the one cryptocurrency and include the other one. And with the fast-paced crypto market, you have to have this. I mean, if you backtest our bundles, which are equally weighted over a 3, 4, 5 year horizon, you sort of, you don't just outperform Bitcoin by a little amount. You outperform Bitcoin by a really large amount, because you're getting exposure to some of these new emerging cryptocurrencies, the likes of Ethereum, Cardano, Polkadot, etc. And in addition to that, you're actually lowering your risk, because you're diversifying, right? You're holding multiple coins. You're not reliant on a single project. Yeah. A lot of people go into this market by just buying Bitcoin or just buying Ethereum, and great. I mean, you've got exposure. That's awesome. But if you're really serious about investing in crypto and you do want to allocate 1 to 5%, we believe you should approach this market in exactly the same way as you would approach investing in stocks, where you're probably not going to gamble on just one or two names. You're probably going to own a Satrix Top 40 equivalent. And that's really where we come in.
Yeah, but now the crypto volatility that we kind of have seen, although it's kind of calmed down to a degree, right? I mean, a lot of things were crab-like until maybe a couple of weeks ago. At the end of the day, with the ETF mindset, and I totally love this idea, because, people were trying to create Bitcoin ETFs and those kind of things, and that space hasn't been developed to such a large degree, and you guys have kind of come in with a great mentality when it comes to tracking these rises and falls, and then baking them into this product. Now, why shouldn't I take Warren Buffett's advice and just go put my money on an S&P 500 ETF? Because he said the most sensible investor would spend money on the S&P 500 and let that run till the end of time. Why should people get into crypto in the year 2021?
Oof, I mean, I can't argue with Warren Buffett. I think for a lot of people, it makes sense. Go put your money into the S&P 500 or into the SPY, which is the largest ETF. that makes sense. Go put some money into that, but like don't just stop there. You would diversify across asset classes, right? Go and buy a little bit of property. You can probably do that through an ETF, or at least an ETN structure, which is a very similar sort of structure to an ETF. Go buy some gold. Go buy a whole variety of different commodities. At the end of the day, the only free lunch you get in investing, you've heard this 1,000 times over, even if you're not in the financial circles, like you don't get a free lunch other than diversification. Sure. And it's boring. It sounds so silly, but I promise you, if you've ever invested in a single anything, right, that could be a really expensive car that you wanted to flip, property, hell, go into stocks, whatever the story may be, cryptocurrency as well. If that's not worked out for you and you've lost a ton of money because you made the silly bet, that's when diversification makes sense to you. And it only makes sense when you felt that pain. Before then, you can seem like a rock star and you can pick individual names and think that they're going to go up. And it's something that financial professionals implement with every portfolio that they manage for a reason, right? Because diversification is the most important thing. So why would you hold crypto in 2021? The world's going to be more digital going forward. People I'm going to just phrase this as two parts. Politicians need you to print money, or they need governments to print money, or central banks to print money, and central banks love printing money, right? Yeah. And the more money in circulation, that's inflation over the long term. There's no arguing that. And if you think out now that you've got 25% more money in circulation than you had 18 months ago, I mean, that's absurd. We've never been in this position before. Fiat currencies are a relatively new phenomenon as well. I mean, you're not looking at more than 80, 90 years old. And yeah, that's crazy, right? So, I mean, the idea of this decentralized money that perhaps isn't, run or controlled by any central institution or government, I mean, maybe that's not so crazy anymore. And I think that's really the opportunity as things go forward. I mean, the adoption rate of crypto is increasing. The millennial generation and the Gen Xers, they should actually be called the Generation W, Generation Weird, because they are weird. And they're probably more open to adopting some of these emerging technologies. And I think in the future, I mean, you're going to have investors choosing these things over the likes of gold or more classic investments. And it's a sort of more of a thematic play than anything else in my book.
Yeah, look, I mean, and COVID kind of brought that through as well. I mean, people were sitting at home and thinking, what can I invest in next? And that kind of was realized when people in America were kind of maxing out their accounts with things like GameStop and BlackBerry and those kind of companies. But specifically on home soil here in South Africa, I mean, I've seen one or two new startups, Altvest and different kind of asset classes rise that you could potentially speculate on, right? And so that whole development of the market, of people sitting with a lot of time on their hands to find something else that's either not equities or anything that's to do with a JSE, anything that's outside of it, people are even interested in investing in. And so I think you guys are tapping into the right market. But like I said, South Africans still love to know, when I buy something, I've got it in my hand type of thing. So tell me, with your individual cryptos that you have on Revix, if I buy Bitcoin, if I buy Ethereum, can I take that Bitcoin off platform and it is mine, or are we not at that part of Revix yet?
Oh, you can, definitely. So if you buy Bitcoin on the platform and you want to hold it in your personal account, of course, you can withdraw it. You can hold it on your Ledger or Trezor. We don't necessarily service that sort of a customer, if I'm completely honest. I mean, sure, obviously there are customers that decide that they want to hold their crypto themselves. We, I think, serve a sort of newbie to the space where it's probably higher risk, and certainly in South Africa, it's higher risk to maybe be holding that crypto yourself rather than utilizing us. The reason I say that as well is that we utilize professional custody partners. And I think this is one thing that I just need to kind of have a dig here at the general crypto industry. Sure. If you deal with a lot of exchanges, and I mean, go run through the list. I don't know who you are kind of investing with. If you're listening to this and you invest in crypto, go see how that exchange actually protects your money, because they can say cold storage. Now, holding your cryptocurrency on a Trezor device doesn't really help that much when somebody walks in with a gun and says, listen, give me all that Bitcoin. Yeah. Like, they're going to give that Bitcoin away, right? Or they're going to give that crypto away. You need to use professional custodian partners. So these are like banks, right, that exist out there. And I know a lot of people are going to say, but that's not really, in line with the crypto mentality. And I'll say, yes, like, that's true. But at the same time, we would rather make sure that we've got protection and insurance against any loss should something happen. And that's the sort of ability for me to sleep easy at night, right? Like, I can sleep easier knowing that we are protecting customer funds that way. And I think that's one of the biggest issues. And it's kind of annoying that regulators haven't stepped up to deal with this, because managing cryptocurrency is arguably the most important thing you can do. Forget money laundering, forget all the other stuff. Protecting crypto on behalf of consumers is the thing that regulators should be the most focused on. And for some reason, it's just in their blind spot right now.
Sure. I mean, that's quite hectic, and I guess that everyone hopes that regulators will come and meet them, because we want this asset class to be considered something that is totally safe for anybody to do. And South Africans, have been taken, for a on some of these, scams that have run rife in the country. And so really getting that stamp of approval from a regulator for legitimate exchanges is probably the next best thing, I would think, in my mind. But tell me what that looks like. And I kind of want to preface this question like I've always asked these founders, especially, the guys that do work in this financial space. So what does going bust look like to you? And then when somebody's invested in one of your bundles, for instance, if you were to go bust, and we're touching wood, we're making sure that's never happening, but what actually happens to people's money? Because this is something that South Africans stress about day in and day out. Even when a new bank launches, we go, oh my goodness, is it going to be safe? So tell me about Revix. How do you put those backstops in place so that you can tell a very skeptical South African, don't worry, your money will still be there when we're having tough times in the background at Revix?
So I think it's one of the interesting things that I've learned as a founder as well, is that you can't BS your audience, and you can't BS, certainly if you're wanting to be an authentic, trustworthy platform, you have to be honest. Now, the truth is that there is no crypto platform that exists out there where the founder or the staff members wouldn't have access to customer funds. Why? Because you need to protect customer funds. You actually need to move customer funds around and diversify across different sort of platforms that protect customer funds and custody assets. Now, what that really means is that if somebody had to try transfer these funds out, now sure, you couldn't liquidate all the funds that were under management, but you certainly can move funds to other exchanges, and that can lead to some sort of a loss. So if Revix was to go bust, or if any other platform was to go bust, what you actually have to do is you have to have controls in place internally, just like a traditional financial services firm, to say, listen, these assets have to sit in a separate custody account. So you can't just jump on and access them. Now, we've implemented that. We use different bank accounts. We have internal controls around that. You've obviously got multiple parties that have to permit any transaction. So no one in this business can go and say, listen, make a transfer from this party to this party. But the truth is, at the end of the day, the reputation of that business, and because again, you could have 3 or 4 parties colluding. I mean, you've had much bigger scandals in the past. So the truth is, that's why I'm just coming back to what I was saying before. You can't really prevent that. But what you can do is you can obviously look at who the people are behind this business. You can ask them, what sort of procedures have you put into place? Who are your bankers? Who are your auditors? Do you have audited financials? Who is your custodian partner? Are you regulated in a different country? That's something we're busy going through right now in Germany. So we're looking to get regulated by BaFin there. And then there's different procedures and whatnot you have to put in place. But unfortunately, your funds, as I said, they're moving from one place to another. Exchanges, until there's regulation in place that actually forces that separation, it's a risk that we need to deal with.
Yeah, man. Look, information is power. The way you would explain that and answer that question is, I think, what South Africans actually require, because the scams do a whole bunch of great marketing and then they get South Africans involved, but we need to hear the particulars of a certain thing that is saying, invest some of your rands into a platform. And South Africans are very protective over their rands. At least I'm a South African who is. But let's get to the marketing of Revix now. And actually, before we get there, I wanted to actually ask you, regulations. We keep saying, it would be great if regulations can be this thing that green lights the best of in South Africa crypto. So would it be, in your opinion, conceivable that the government says, okay, cool, let's make crypto legal tender, or at least Bitcoin legal tender? Would that be a thing that helps you in the long term in Revix, or you don't really care if it becomes legal tender or not?
I'm a Bitcoin maximalist, so I would love it to become legal tender in South Africa, but the probability of that occurring, in my opinion, less than 0.0001%.
Wow.
We are not moving very quickly in terms of the way we're treating cryptocurrencies. We're not regulating them in some progressive fashion. If anything, we're quite regressive. We're waiting on other jurisdictions to sort of get ahead of us you're seeing brain drain happen out of this country in every other sector. Now it's happening in crypto as well, right? I mean, I don't want to be a platform that's going to set up in Germany, but without regulations locally, banks don't like you, customers can't trust you. You sort of have to move offshore. You owe it to your shareholders, you owe it to your customers, you owe it to your employees. So yeah, that's frustrating. I mean, if I look at the regulatory framework in South Africa, they've said that they're going to be progressive. They've said that they're going to be welcoming to crypto businesses, and you can create a lot of jobs if you are. The issue really is that what they're saying and what they're doing aren't matching up. The regulators are sort of twiddling their thumbs. I've been very outspoken about this. I was on Bloomberg about 2 months ago, kind of got a flashy headline criticizing the regulators, but I'll criticize them again. It's poor form that we are still sitting here. I started Revix 3.5 years ago. We were promised regulations 3.5 years ago. We're still waiting. So unfortunately, your guess really is as good as mine there.
Yeah, I think you guys need to do some white papers, but all of the exchanges and all of the crypto companies need to put together one big document and criticize, because I've seen, the crypto exchanges with some of the highest trading volume in the country express some of the similar frustrations to the point where they say it is becoming hard to actually run in the country. And that actually now really concerns me, because we have, in South Africa, we have a lot of incredible minds that are talking about how crypto can change the banking sector and how it can teach people about money in a much more efficient way than, already available cash can. So I totally get where you guys are coming from. So I don't know, maybe making it legal tender, has that helped that country that just did it recently? Which country was that again?
That was El Salvador.
El Salvador, yeah.
Yeah, they're still in the implementation phase. They've got a lot of PR from it, and I think a lot of tourists, Bitcoin maximalists, are sort of heading in there. I'd be interested to see how this all plans out. I mean, I think it's still pretty early days because Bitcoin is still so volatile. I mean, when this has increased 10, 15, 20x from where it is now, it's double the value of gold. I mean, that's sort of the world that I like to play in. And then I go like, well, or can Bitcoin then become legal tender? Yeah. Remember, cryptocurrencies as well are software. That's what people don't really realize. They're programmable money, programmable peer-to-peer money. And then obviously some cryptocurrencies like Ethereum can do a bit more. But because of that, you can upgrade them. So, I mean, currently we're working with Windows 95 cryptocurrencies. We are going to be working with whatever the latest Windows is today. I don't even know. Windows 10 or whatever.
11.
You're going to be dealing with that. 11. There we go. See, I'm behind the curve here and I run a tech company. But you're going to be dealing with that sort of cryptocurrency in the future, right? Where the money itself can act very much like your bank. So right now you say, listen, I want a debit order on the 31st. I want a debit order on the 25th. Now, currently your bank says, okay, great. Now move some money to this account. You can put that in the money. Like that program can exist as a smart contract, as they call them, in the money itself to say, listen, make this payment at this point in time. I mean, that's a very rudimentary and basic function, but that's sort of one of the potential opportunities with crypto as well.
Yeah, 100%. No, I mean, it was great to see this documentary that was made in the country maybe 2 years ago, where some guy was, paying an electricity meter with Bitcoin, and then it was turning on the lights in a township, and or a township school at least. And I thought it was particularly, a vision of the future. And with South Africans as well. I mean, the guy that created that totally untraceable cryptocurrency is also Monero is also a South African. So, South Africa has always had this aura of opportunity, but then government regulation kind of smothers it and douses the flame. So I hear that is continuing, in your opinion.
It is, unfortunately. And I mean, it's so weird. You can travel all over the world and you'll meet the most industrious, kind of, crazy, smart South Africans all over the show, right?
Yeah.
And that's actually partly a function of the government making life just really difficult, I think. But, all in all, yeah, we are remarkable. The way that we can kind of come together, the way we get through all the adversity and whatnot that's existing in the country is, it's, in my mind, completely, it blows me away consistently, right? Like we've got a lot of challenges, and for some reason we're still this weird first world, third world emerging market.
Yeah, 100%. I like the way you said that. Well, tell me now, you obviously with technology developing are now trying to get Revix into those, technological spaces. So apps have been a thing that a lot of the other exchanges have kind of, shown people and they've installed it. So I do hear that you have a Revix app on the way. Tell me more about getting this app off the ground. What is this app going to be? Is it just going to be a copy paste from the website, or is it something that a consumer is going to download and feel like, yeah, this is great?
So we are doing, I wish it was just a copy and paste from the website. No, we spent a lot of time, blood, sweat, and tears in building this out. In 2 months' time, it should release, maybe a little bit sooner, but with tech, always interesting things happen. And the entire experience is going to be different. So I'll come back to this thing about Revix being an investment experience platform, right? So a revolutionary investment experience. And the idea when you're using our platform, it's meant to be a wealth management partner. We're meant to be a wealth management partner. That app's meant to be that partner for you. And what that means really is, we are going to launch products that go well beyond just a weird world of crypto. So if you're wanting to invest in, say, AI as a theme, biotech, 5G technology, so these are the stocks or the companies that are doing these things, or working in these different areas, we want to be able to make that really accessible. And if you're wanting to invest in some weird alternative investments, and that's why I say we're sort of in this generation W right now, generation weird, because you can invest in Pokemon cards, not too new and not too weird. You can invest in Instagram accounts, believe it or not. Yeah. You can invest in people. And that's where things get really weird now, right? Because you can take the legal ownership of someone, put it inside a token. And I mean, now I'm going well, of course, but the point being that there's going to be all these interesting investment opportunities in the future. And you need a platform that you can trust, that you can easily get exposure to these things that ultimately can make you money. Because investing, like I think a lot of South African wealth managers have over the last while, and getting you that 4% per year when inflation in South Africa is 4.5% a year, I mean, that sucks. And that's not what we want to do.
Well, Sean, I think there's space for collaboration because, as you know, I have a basket of ETFs on easy equities, just a whole bunch of collected ETFs that your beginner investor can invest in and feel like, okay, it's not so much of a cold sweat to invest. Because, that first investment, that initial investment for a young South African or even a young millennial, wherever you are, that very first investment feels like, am I giving money to the right company here? And so, I'm in the business of trying to find those things that young people and millennials won't have that cold sweat about. And so all I'm saying is, long term, there should be a quintessential basket on Revix. I think you and I need to talk. Yeah, let's talk about it. We'll develop it. But tell me, in terms of the future of Revix, what can people look forward to despite the app? I hear you have a double up. What is this? The minute you put money in, what happens? I hear something about double up.
So it depends when you listen to this. We've had a lot of people sign up using this promotion recently, we've limited this to the first 3,000 users. But essentially, you can double up your deposit. So you get a guaranteed 100% return before you've even made the investment. So what you can do, and this is real, this is no Afri crypto or anything like that. We just believe that we can give you money directly to a consumer rather than going and paying Google or some other advertising house to try, convince you to get on this platform. So we're giving you money directly. The idea with Double Up is that, or the way that you should go about approaching Double Up is firstly head over to our website, see the terms and conditions. Just it's always good to read those. We've made those easy to understand. They're not pages and pages. They're literally 2 pages worth reading. Go and do that. Sign up with the promo code Double Up, one word. From there, you would need to make a deposit of at least 500 Rand. You can deposit more if you like, and we'll then credit your account with 500 Rand. So you get double your money. If you deposit more, you deposit 1,000 Rand, you'll get 500 Rand, you'll have a 50% return. And then you need to make an investment, and then you are able to withdraw your funds at some future date. Or you can invest, and that's entirely up to you what you then want to do with that money. The goal here really is that we think we are the easiest investment platform that exists out there. We have great customer support. If you're wanting to maybe get convinced from another platform to come and try Revix, that's what the goal is here. Or maybe you're a newbie to the space and you just need a good incentive to get started. Yeah, this is the time to get started. You double your money. It's like, why not?
Yeah, 100%. So a crypto platform that gives you rewards as well. I mean, why not? All of those links are going to be in the description, and keep that open for a week, Sean, because we'll premiere this next week. So keep it open. Let's see if more people can sign up. But Sean, thank you so much for sticking around here on the Quintessential Show. Really, man, it looks like a great platform. Keep doing what you guys are doing. I love innovation in the fintech space here in South Africa. I really think, if we get digital right, there's a whole bunch of good stuff that can come out of the democratization of markets in South Africa. So kudos to you guys for doing that. Looking forward to seeing, the development after that. Where can people find you on social media, by the way?
I am actually off social, believe it or not. I took a step back. So follow Revix, but I mean, you can search for me on LinkedIn. I suppose that's the one place I'm available. But yeah, I decided to take a step back from social 2 years ago. Kind of building this business thing had me quite busy. So yeah, decided to focus on that. Quite enjoyed that. But Quintus, right back to you actually as well, and thank you for those kind words. Getting the ideas out there, getting people inspired. I mean, that has a lot of power. And I think this country needs more of that. So yeah, really well done to you as well. And yeah, I mean, you building something, I'm building something. I think everyone should be, building something. So
absolutely. Let's stay in touch, Sean. Yeah, but being off of social media, do not feel bad about that. Social media is the number one source of FUD. You will want to sell Bitcoin one moment and buy it the next. So better to do your approach, which I like, is the ETF kind of space where you buy. You let it lie, and then you log in 10 years time, and you'll be probably happy that you did, right?
That's the goal here. I mean, look at the long-term trend, and if it's going from the bottom left to the top right, that's what you want, right? So I mean, ultimately, we try to find areas that are going to be far bigger in the future. I think crypto is going to be far bigger. Electric vehicles, blockchain, more generally speaking, AI, biotech, go through the list. I mean, those are sort of the areas that I believe you should be putting your money behind, and that's what we want to offer on the platform.
There you go. Well, let us know what you think in the comments section. But that was Sean from Revix. Thanks, Sean.
Awesome. Thanks, Quintus.